When I was 11 or 12 or 10, I don't know, I'd go over to my granddad's and help him in the garden. And he had a very large garden, and he watered it with rills. That's little canals, and he'd move the water in and out with a hoe by blocking and opening the passage of the water coming out of a creek that came through his property. Well, we'd go in and have lunch, and then we'd go in and sit in his cool, quiet living room, and he would teach me things. And he had a recurrent story. He would say, son, the way life works is you need to get all the food you need, all the good food, like we have here, the garden and the orchard. He had a bunch of peach trees and berries and salmon from the Indians and all the good food you can eat, a roof over your head that doesn't leak. You need to have a few good clothes that'll keep you warm, and a few good friends. After that, after you have those things, go out in the community and see what you can do to help other people. That's the meaning of life. And he said that to me over and over again. I chuckle now and say he ruined me as an entrepreneur, because I've never been that interested in accumulating a lot of money. My father also told me when I was quite young, if you're going to be a lawyer, be a lawyer. If you're going to be a realtor, be a realtor. But don't try and mix the two. Don't go out when you become a lawyer and start buying rental houses. The first thing you know, you'll be dealing with real estate and not with representing clients and being a lawyer. And I followed that, probably to my economic detriment, but I did. And I'm losing train of my thought. Well, when I first got married, my granddad had just gotten to where he couldn't drive anymore. He was moving up on 90, and I think he was about 88 when I got married. And the people in town were giving him feedback, just like the Democrats are Joe Biden today. They would try and get out of the way when he came up the hill into town for his coffee clutch every day, because he couldn't get his foot from the throttle to the brake. He drove into things, and eventually they prevailed upon him, and he said, okay, I can't drive anymore. But he gave me the car. That's just about when I got married. And so I went and drove my bride away in a 1950 Chevrolet in 1959. So it was 9 years old. And it worked fine. And it was an old man's car. There was nothing stylish about that car. And then later, when it crapped out, I got another one from my cousin there in town who had a Chev dealership, and he charged me $50 for it. I suppose that was a family price, but it wasn't worth very much money. That influenced me. I did eventually buy a new car in 1966. So that would have been 7 years after I got married, when I was 27 years old. I finally bought a new Chevrolet. But most of my life, I've driven cars that were more than 10 years old, and I have been hilariously happy, not worrying about what's new and shiny in the world of automobiles. So I drove used cars. I represented working people, never tried to work up to representing wealthy people. Then at the end of my career as a lawyer, I stumbled into a really good case and made a $320,000 attorney fee, suing a hospital for having allowed their anesthesiologist to sexually abuse clients while they were under day surgery. And I paid off my mortgage on my house. I would have been able to pay it off slowly anyway, because I had some savings, but I sort of fell into a bucket of cream at the end. And now I find myself quite comfortable financially, even though I never set a goal to make a lot of money. I never bought a house at the coast to go to on weekends, and I didn't have season tickets to the Blazers, but there was anything I wanted that I felt like I should have and couldn't have. And another thing that brought me to that was my parents never talked about, oh, if we just had a little more money, we would do this or we would do that. They were very frugal, but they never talked about what they wished they had more money so they could buy. And that had a wonderful impact on me. So I've been blessed by being a kind of a Bernie Sanders sort of person politically, and sort of a frugal person. And hey, it's worked out well for me. So that's me and not being an entrepreneur.